Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 325 of our BU 365 day challenge. To do one thing every day that improves us in some way. We've spent months talking about each of the different areas and aspects of our life: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, and confidence and communication. I decided to add confidence and communication in 2021. After the whole craziness of 2020, I realized that there were core basic skills and abilities that we all want to continually work on in order to become a better version of ourselves, in order to improve. So we spent months doing that. And then this month, I wanted to do something I've done a couple of years now called No Nonsense November. So every day I'm sharing a lesson that I've learned in my 6+ decades on the planet that has really served me well. And it's usually a lesson. It's usually a thing that I learned the hard way. I didn't learn it the easy way. And that is the topic of today's conversation. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this from my life. And our action today is going to be to think about your life, and are you focusing on what you want or what you don't want, or the absence of it? So our topic today, our lesson learned is focus on what you want. Focus on what you want. Focus on what you want. If you don't learn anything else from this entire year of daily little challenges to improve ourselves, focus on this, focus on what you want, and gratitude, being grateful for what you've already achieved, you've already got going on in your life. We're going to talk about gratitude and thankfulness, I think, on Thursday, since it's Thanksgiving this year here in the United States. But today, let's talk about focusing on what we want. Now, this is one of those things that I used to think that I was goal-oriented. I've set goals since I was a little girl. My dad taught my sisters and I the importance of setting goals, writing down those goals. He was in corporate America for 30 years and ran businesses on the side, much like I do. And I spent over a quarter century in corporate America and always ran businesses on the side because that's what was modeled to me, and that's how I define success. So I always thought, since I was setting goals, that meant I was focusing on what I want. But what I realized in a lot of areas of my life, I wasn't really focusing on what I want. And I just had this aha this morning that I'm doing the same thing with my health right now and my level of fitness. And it's kind of embarrassing because I always think I'm moving toward my goals, which I am. Yet, if I'm moving toward my goals with my actions, but my thoughts and my beliefs are slowing me down or preventing me from achieving that goal as quickly as I could, then I need to pay attention to this. Often we think we're focusing on what we want, but we're really thinking about in a subconscious level that we don't have it yet, wondering why we don't have it yet, beating ourselves up for not having it yet or having accomplished it yet. And I saw this I can think of examples in absolutely every area of my life where I believed and thought I was focusing on my goal, but I was really subconsciously being my own worst enemy by really thinking about more why I didn't have it yet, or making excuses for myself not having yet, or why I hadn't focused on it yet and given it my undivided attention. And, one of my excuses would be, well, I'm working on my business. I'm working on my relationship. I'm working on something else. Therefore, I don't have the time and energy to focus on and work on this. That's why I've decided and started doing an annual challenge, is because I know that there are going to be days when I'm thinking about what I don't want, and there's going to be more if I'm focusing and concentrating on it and moving toward it than I am actually thinking about and moving toward the thing that I do want. So what's an example of this? I remember early on in my building businesses, I had an Italian food manufacturing business for 35 years. And if I think back now, every time I was struggling in a growth stage of that business or having more challenges and more difficulties, I always wanted to supersize and grow that business, right? And I always set goals to be moving and growing every year. But when I found I was having more challenges and more problems were coming up and things outside of my control were happening, I realized it was because I was making, in my subconscious, growing a business really, really hard, and that it had to be hard. It had to be a struggle. I had to hustle and grind if I was going to be successful. So I was focusing more on the hustle and the grind than on the vision of what I was trying to create. And every time I lost and my focus on what I wanted, I would struggle and things would come up, things that were crazy and outside of my control. But really, from a big picture standpoint, it's because I was giving energy to the not having it, not creating it, not doing it fast enough, being frustrated, etc. The same thing happened in my marriage, and this one's probably more personal and even harder to talk about. I always thought I would get married, and I'm divorced, so obviously it didn't work out. I always believed that I would get married and I'd be married my whole life. And, we'd grow old together, yada, yada, yada. But subconsciously, my biggest fear was that my marriage would fail and that my husband would, cheat on me. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Why? Because even though consciously I didn't realize I was thinking about that on a subconscious level, that was a predominant thought. And so that's how I behaved, was based on that predominant subconscious thought, which I think is partially responsible for the breakup of my marriage. So that's the one I have to take personal responsibility for. Now, can I take 100% responsibility for that? No. But if our thoughts are focusing on something we don't want, that will come into our life in all kinds of crazy ways that we can't even imagine. Lynn Grabhorn wrote a book. She's passed away now, but Following My Sudden Cardiac Arrest, which there's an example of thinking about things we don't want that come into fruition in our lives. It's happened in my health. It's happened emotionally. It's happened mentally. It's happened in my communication. You go to an interview or you're having a meeting and you want to be so eloquent and sound smart, and you end up sounding like an idiot. I might do that on some of my videos. So today, just think about how you can more consistently focus on the things that you want. One of my favorite ways is affirmations. Every morning, every night, and sometimes in between, I have times where I do affirmations. I've built affirmations into my phone alarm. So I have an alarm that goes off at 11:11. I have an alarm that goes off at 7:07. And they have got little affirmations written on them, moving me and guiding me and focusing me on what I want. And I found that I need to do things like that. For the longest time, I had Post-it notes on my bathroom mirror. But I stopped doing that a couple of years ago when I moved. I just didn't redo them on my new location. And now since I'm traveling, I'm not going to really put, Post-it notes on bathroom mirrors everywhere I go. The maids and my relatives would think I'm crazy. So not that I care. But so today, just think about and notice, and here's how you know. And this took me a long time to figure out too. Here's how you know if you're focusing on what you want enough to create what you want or what you don't want. And it shows up 100% of the time in the results that we're getting. And if the results we're getting are not what we want, that means we're thinking about, at least at a subconscious level, what we don't want, or that we don't have it yet, or something else that's blocking us from getting what we want. So we always know what we're focusing on, what we're thinking about, what we're believing at a subconscious level based on the results we're getting, whether we're aware of it or not. So if I'm fine that I'm not getting the results I want in an area or aspect of my life, and I realized this morning I will be doing that in the area of my health and my physical level of energy and fitness, because I'm not getting the results I want when it comes to the shape of my body as I get older. I'm like, somehow in my subconscious, I believe that we have to gain weight when we get older. And I think that's a false belief we're fed over and over and over again. And it just lives in our subconscious. So my goal this week is probably to, Thanksgiving, great week to pick this one, right? Is to figure out what in my subconscious, what beliefs are, and I just think I just shared it, as we get older, as we age, we gain weight. And all I have to do is find examples of people that are healthier now than they were when they were younger. When I was 50 and had my sudden cardiac arrest, following that event, I actually became the healthiest I have ever been. I was in better shape than I've ever been in my life. So I need to figure out what was I thinking back then so I can do that again now. All right, that's our item for today. Focus on what you want. Focus on what you want. Focus on what you want. And if you're not getting what you want, figure out what beliefs and thoughts you're thinking, because I guarantee you're thinking what you don't want more than what you want. All right, have an awesome day. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow for day 326 already of our annual challenge. Have an awesome day.